Fight, fight, fight!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to No Filter Gen Z. I am joined with Mariah and Lydia today on the Disney episode. It's really funny. We were just talking off camera how, we don't like the woke part of Disney, but we're all annual pass holders of Disney World, and we actually love Disney. I have
Probably wasn't expecting that, yeah.
this is a Tokyo Disney hat.
Oh, that makes sense.
That's funny.
So I love Disney, but we do need to talk about the woke side, and that's the production side. It's more production than the parks, I think. Like the parks are actually not as bad. There's still some things, but before we get into it, you guys just went to Disney, so I want to hear about your experience. One of you just tell me, like, how was it?
Yeah, well, we were at Disney for like 3.5 days. We stayed at one of the Disney resorts. We had the time of our lives, honestly. We're actually, all three of us are annual pass holders. And so we all love Disney, I think, in our own ways. We had a great time. We visited all 4 parks. We kind of spread it out, took our time. For those of you who don't know, well, Disney World in Florida has 4 parks.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, and then, Disneyland in California is a little bit different, which I have not been there, but I'm going this summer.
You are?
Yes, I am.
Wow.
I'm excited.
Do you know what's really cool? That I think I saw this on Instagram or something, that the logos that say or the names, Disney World has ORL in it, which is Orlando, like the Orlando abbreviation, and Disneyland has LA in it.
Okay, so Disney really does think of everything.
That's crazy.
We can say woke all day. I get that, but they're strategic.
Yeah, they're smart. They're good. I love them. I love Disney. I've been going. My whole family goes all the time. So nothing against them, but I do think that they're missing their target audience when it comes to production and movies lately, shows, and they're kind of changing with the culture. Which, like, you could argue, like, yeah, they're trying to relate, but also they're trying to relate to the 1% of the population instead of the 99% of the families that are subscribed to Disney Plus and stuff. So we're just going to talk about the newest thing first, which is Snow White, the feminist movie that actually flopped. It was on IMDb, it's like 1.7 out of 10 stars, which is horrible. And that's what happens when you go woke. You go woke, you go broke. And I think Disney they have to be feeling the effects of all this from, like, every time they do it, it just seems to fail. Because their target audience is families that don't want that stuff. They don't want an agenda in their movies. They want Disney and classic Disney. That was good. But with Snow White, they changed. The girl really wasn't even white. She really wasn't that white. And also, the whole point is that her skin is white as snow. But they kind of took that and said, well, this is not the old days anymore. And also the fact that there was a prince in the original. And now she doesn't get saved by anybody. And it's just a big flop feminist agenda movie again. Disney's just missing the mark on this. So you guys, what's your thoughts on this new movie and the direction that they went with it?
Well, I agree with, like, the first thing you said was that, there's this whole, like, agenda that people aren't wanting. I think the main thing we got out of the press tours and everything that they were talking about with this movie, one of the things that got everyone, like, people are posting this all over the internet. It's like, she's not going to be saved by the prince. She's not going to find that one true love, guys. Like, she is going to be a strong, independent woman. That was, like, one of the main, like, talks of it this entire time. And honestly, I think that bothered people a lot because that is so far from, like, what the original movie was. Like, that's not really who Snow White was.
Why remake the movie if you're going to change it that much?
Right, exactly. I personally think that if you want a princess who isn't, like, that's not centered around a prince, make another movie.
Make a new movie,
They've done it before. They have done it and it went super well. Like, if you think about Mulan, she was a princess, but her goal was to be strong.
Yeah.
And it actually went great. And I think it was a great movie. But with Snow White, they just remade this entire, like, film. They rewrote the whole script. And so I think that was part of what was getting people was like, hey, you guys actually just changed this entire thing.
Yeah, it was not a live action Snow White. It wasn't a Snow White movie at all. They changed everything, and they also, the actor that plays her, she's good, but, like, everything she said in the press just did not help the movie at all, or her. It was kind of weird. And also, they changed, so the dwarves, they go work in the mines, right? and they didn't hire dwarves. They animated it, which I think it would have been a cool opportunity for a lot of actors that are, smaller
Yes.
people, little people, which it could have gave them an opportunity to act, but they didn't want to do that. And they changed the part of the movie where Snow White kind of cleans the house while they're mining because they think that's too I don't know. They think that's outdated, I guess, to for the woman to clean. Which look, the dwarves were working. That was kind of the whole point, is that they were staying with her and stuff. It wasn't supposed to be this bad thing that the left thinks it is. So I mean, Lydia, what's your thoughts on the movie?
Well, first of all, I'm gonna pull up some numbers.
Okay, okay,
Snow White's budget, it was $240 million. And apparently, so far, as of April 11th, it has only made $169 million. So when you look at their budget and you think of like, because
I wonder
CGI,
why.
I don't, and the thing is, yeah, I wonder why. But also the thing is with like CGI, because also like, making the dwarves CGI, I can only imagine how much that cost them too.
Yeah,
Again, you could have hired people, to actually provide them opportunities in, this field, so to speak.
yeah,
But I will say Rachel Zegler at face value, objectively, she is a very talented actress.
she is.
She's very talented, but her press presence is awful.
Yeah,
Like it's like time after time I see clip after clip of her and I'm like, she does not know how to just answer questions gracefully, not kind of poke the bear, so to speak, because when you're promoting a movie, you should not really, the goal is not really to downplay and trash your movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's not really the goal. So I think that this should be a big learning lesson for her. I mean, I thought this should have been learned a while ago because she's also had issues in the past. So it's disheartening, honestly. I mean, they could have made a whole nother movie. They could have done a whole nother
yeah.
spin.
Just make a new movie if you're gonna change it that much.
Making a movie.
Right.
You could even use her as an actress, as the main character if you wanted to, but actually hire someone that embodies Snow White a little bit better than she did.
Yeah. And the feminist agenda, I mean, hey, Disney, you ever think maybe not every girl wants that? Maybe some girls still want a prince. Maybe some girls still like being feminine and princess-like. Well,
Yeah.
they think that I don't know if it's that they're missing their audience or if they're trying to, influence people. Do you guys think there's an agenda with these movies? Like, is there a reason why they're doing this, Mariah?
I think I honestly don't know. Like, obviously, everything goes in the back of their heads. I mean, you never know the reason for this ultimately, but I do think there is some sort of modern day agenda, so
Yeah.
to speak. I don't know how deep it goes. That's why I like hesitate, but I do think that this is something that has become so prevalent is like in this modern day culture of people believing that women have to be stronger, they can't stay home. What do you mean? You should do more than that, like you can be a strong, independent woman. That's such a modern day like phrase. And as we know, the entertainment and the media and all of that stuff is going to push for that, as long as it's popular, as long as
Yeah.
it's, seen as that. So, yeah, I do think that that's definitely part of why it was like this. And I'm sure that there's influence from the actors and actresses as well. Like, hey, you know what? I want to change it to be a little bit more like this because we've seen it in other movies happen as well.
Yeah.
Slightly off topic, but with the press with like It Ends With Us with Blake Lively and everything, she has literally changed so much about that movie to what she wanted. So obviously we can see the influence too from people who are famous and want to get things their way.
True. I just see that Disney loses so much money when they do something like this. So it's either they really want to push the agenda, or I don't know if there's maybe like Hollywood elites that are, giving them money. I don't know if it's like a behind the scenes thing that we just don't know about, like the big wigs, the CEOs at the top that are talking with the Disney CEOs or something, but it's just so far off of what people want Disney to be like right now. And yeah, make a new movie if you want to make a strong independent woman. Like, I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with changing the entire movie just to fit a narrative because that's where the culture wants to go. Like, it's weird, and it doesn't cater to families. But at the same time that this came out, a Christian movie about the story of Jesus outperformed it at the box office. Like it's like number 2, and this is an animated like kids movie for about Jesus, and that's really rare for one of those to like perform that big. So it was really cool to see that, you know, people are choosing this for their kids over this stuff that's just woke and stuff. So do you think that Disney's going to learn from this, Lydia? Do you think they're going to pick up on it, or is it just going to keep going?
Well, I think we've been kind of hoping that for a while and it still
Yeah.
hasn't happened. I think they need to take even more severe of a blow to actually have a wake-up call. I don't know if it has anything to do with their CEO, Bob Iger. Like,
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
I'm not sure what his take is on this. I'm not sure because I believe I forget who the CEO was before Bob Iger when like because I think he
He
left
came back.
yeah, I forget who was in between that time, but I just remember like I remember someone had said he was one of them was more like the studio's focus, and I think it was one before Bob Iger. But then Bob Iger was more focused on like the parks
Yeah.
and things like that. And so I feel like I guess you can kind of see that here because I guess Disney Studios has not really received as much TLC as it should, as far as knowing who their base is, who their base audience, which it is families, it is children and families, it is the average American family.
Yeah.
Goes to the parks. That's who goes to their parks. That's who sees their movies. And so, you know, you can have this, as you said earlier, like you can have this small minority of people that are trying to push this agenda, which we see that not only in culture but in politics.
Yeah.
So it's just, you know, that's just across the board. But when we kind of see that, you know, it's just a small minority of people wanting to push this, and then versus when you see who their actual base audience is, they really need to wake up there. But do I think they will? I think it'll take even more than we can even possibly imagine right now.
Yeah, it probably will. But, you know, I'm not going to lie. Even the parks, they after 2020 with Black Lives Matter and stuff, they ended up changing Splash Mountain, which was about the Briar and all the stuff with the song was Song of the South, which was from an old movie about a guy that lives on a farm, a slave, and it's kind of like his life experiences. And after 2020, after all of this race stuff, they changed it to Tiana's Bayou Adventure, which is a black princess. I just think if I was a black person, I would feel a little like this is pity. Like this is like, why don't you make a new ride if you're going to make one for Tiana? Not replace it from a different ride that was about history. You know, do you guys think that they're like, well, I don't know. How do you feel about the Tiana ride and changing an old one to that instead of making a new ride?
Okay, I think it all boils down to the motives because the thing about that ride, it's actually super fun.
Yeah, I
think
bet it's a great ride.
And I think it fits so well, like Tiana's Bayou. I think it's very nice. It's well put together. But the thing is, it's about the motives.
Mm-hmm.
And if their motive was like, man, you know what? There's some ties to this that I think could be perceived as racist, so we really need to change that. And then they do change it to a princess who is African American, and they do this because of the that reasoning. I mean, I just think that is very confusing, and I agree. I think some people were even commenting that. I've seen posts on social media about it where people were saying things like, "That's why can't we have a new ride?
Yeah.
Why can't we have a new ride if we're gonna change it altogether? I want to feel like better than just getting this old thing that you refurbished for this reason.
Yeah.
For the reason of feeling bad or feeling like you have to change something." So yeah, I agree with that. And I think, again, it's all about the motives because if their reasoning was like, hey guys, you know, kids nowadays don't really understand like Song of the South, they don't understand Splash Mountain or Briar Rabbit, is that how you say it? They don't understand that. Like, I think we should change it. Like, okay, that's fair. But the reasoning, that's something that causes me to think.
It's just funny that it was after all the media about Black Lives Matter, and they thought they had to do that and then change it to a black princess. It just seems like it was a pity move instead of making a new thing for them. But I think we see the same thing. During that time we saw the same thing with syrup, Aunt Jemima's syrup. They changed that too. Like I feel like that all these people are trying to change what already existed to like make it the visual look better for their brand, and Disney might have been doing the same thing, but that's what they did with the Snow White movie as well. They tried to change what the movie was to making something else instead of making a new one. And that's the pattern I'm seeing. Same thing with that ride. Like, I think we need to start. I mean, we don't need to change everything. We don't need to change the past. We can learn from it, look at it, and then build new. You know?
Yeah, and the thing about Splash Mountain is it was just an iconic ride. Like that was I remember seeing, I think I just saw what the wait time total was like the last day it was open. It was like, oh, it
I
was
saw
like
that
5 hours,
too.
like wait time. Like it was like absolutely like crazy. So it just goes to show like the love for Splash Mountain was and still is there. And so I think, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Princess and the Frog. I'm a huge fan of the movie. I love the princess, but I absolutely agree. I think honestly, it could have been even better if they made a whole nother ride and they did
Yeah.
something new and fresh with her. I think a lot of people would be more behind that. And they could put it in because Splash Mountain, for those of you that don't know, it's in Magic Kingdom and it's in a land of Magic Kingdom called
Yeah, it
Frontierland.
doesn't make sense that you change that to a princess. The land doesn't make sense anymore. It kind of throws
Yeah.
off the branding of that land.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if they were to
Yeah.
put it maybe somewhere else in Magic Kingdom, maybe they were to kind of create some other spin on it, I would have been all for that. But yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with Mariah. It really does come down to the motive and the core of why they were doing it. And
Right.
that's the thing.
No
Like,
no one could ride that ride and think it's racist. It wasn't anything. It was history, and it was a cool ride to see, like, just the journey through there instead of it's making it political. I feel like all these issues just end up being political because
Yeah.
they can make a message out of it and make an agenda to make it look good for the people that are outraged. But then again, like the movie, like Snow White, they're missing their target audience. And another one with production was what was it? Ariel. They made The Little Mermaid. Great actress and great singer, really. But they changed the old movie from she was a white girl with red hair, and they made her black. And this was also after all these years, last few years of the race stuff. So I don't understand recreating a movie and changing things like that instead of making a new movie or something. It's the same thing with Snow White. Like, it's the same thing that I don't understand.
yeah, I mean, I would agree. I thought that the actress that played Ariel, she did a wonderful job. Like, she really did have a nice voice.
Yeah.
Again, you look at like like it's just it's weird because the thing is, and people would make this argument, like for instance, if we made like a live action like Princess and the Frog, and they would say like, oh, if you changed, the character from a black
Let's
actress,
make a live action Princess and the Frog and make Tiana a white blonde girl and
people
see their reaction.
people would be up in arms about that. And then people would make the excuse of, oh, but like, but the whole movie's revolved around like her culture and like in
Yeah.
it was Louisiana.
Yeah.
Yeah,
New
so
Orleans.
New Orleans. So it's
Yeah.
like,
But it's a double standard though.
It is
One way you can be fine with it, and another way it's like completely. It's you can't do that. It doesn't make
Yep.
sense. How about the little white girls that see them making the movies of the princesses that they wanted to see end up being completely changed? If it was the other way around, with little black girls looking at Tiana and seeing just this white blonde girl, it just messes it up. It doesn't make sense if you already made the movie. Make a new movie.
Yep.
Yeah, I think keeping things in line like that would just logically make sense. I mean, with the Little Mermaid, like I get that she did a great job, and I
She
do
did.
feel like her ethnicity had really nothing to do with the movie because it was about a mermaid. I just didn't see like why it was a huge deal, but again, for me, it's still the motives. So I think that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm a huge fan of like this is again off topic of Disney. I'm a huge fan of Hamilton, like
Yeah.
huge fan of Hamilton, and all of the yeah, Lydia is too. Um, all of the actors like their race in the production of the film when the film was made, like they were different and all of it was diverse. And I honestly didn't even pay attention to that because it was just amazing. And I think that kind of stuff can be fine, but I also think again it's the motives, and I would honestly feel weird about it thinking from their perspective, like if I had the perspective of someone who is African American and being like they changed the race because they feel bad
Yeah,
that
that's
we
what
don't
it's like.
have.
Pity though. It's I want something
Yeah.
new. I don't. If I was a black person and I saw all these things being changed from white to black, it's like, whoa! I don't need you guys to feel bad and make this thing. Just make something else.
Mhm.
Yeah, like if that's the real reasoning and like, it just doesn't make sense why it can't just all be completely, can we just have it normal? Like, do we
Yeah.
have to be changing all this stuff for that reason? Or can we just have it be where that stuff just doesn't matter and we just allow things to flow as they should?
Yeah, but why not
Um,
get an actress that looks like the one from the original? I don't care about the race, but because of the
Yeah.
original, they made a certain way. Why not get an actress to look like the original?
right, like it's kind of confusing in that realm. So that's, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So
Yeah.
yeah, like the remakes. It's
Yeah,
it's the remakes, and
yeah,
I think we just also need to just make new movies
yeah. Let's just
anyway.
make new
Like,
movies.
yeah, like can we just wrap it up?
Yeah, literally. No, and I think also like the intention when you look at like why, the animation style or the cartoon was, created in a certain way as far as like, skin color, eye color, hair color, and then there was intentionality behind that. So why would you want to change it for the live action?
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's intentionality with it all. So I don't understand why you want to flip it, but yeah, I agree.
Well,
Make movies.
let me bring up something that Disney did good. We're gonna, in 2025, something actually did go the right way. Pixar's new movie Win or Lose
Mhm.
introduced Lori as the first openly Christian character in a Disney animated series in nearly 2 decades. So 20 years go by, and finally there's an openly Christian character, which I mean, finally, we haven't seen anything from Disney like that in a while. So it's cool to see someone that does have faith and like us, because we don't see much movies like that. And if we're gonna go with the agendas like the feminist stuff, why not also have a Christian character that has faith? So I think that's great that Disney's finally doing that, and it might be because of this last election and the big rise of conservatives having enough with this stuff. So it might be a hint in the right direction to say, yeah, let's bring the other side as well. If we're gonna do the agenda stuff, let's have both and not be so one-sided and indoctrinating. Let's just have it be movies with different people. How do you guys feel about it?
Well, I remember seeing before they had officially released that show. Well, there's two things I remember. I was hearing one, they were going to have a transgender character, and they actually backtracked on it because they were getting so much backlash. And then after it was released, I actually saw a clip from Michael Knowles, but he was showing a clip from the show, and there also was a character who you could see that they were trying to create some gay elements
Mm,
in as well, and coupled with the Christian element as well. So I mean, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they did include some Christian elements. Finally, they're not mocking for once. But I still, it's funny to see like how they got so much pushback, and then they were like, okay, we'll kind of lessen. Then
you're right. I'm reading what you said.
yeah, and to appease, oh, we're gonna put a Christian character. Oh, and then we're gonna put a little like sprinkle of like some of these elements, like LGBTQ elements in there too. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's kind of like it kind of feels half-hearted
Still
a
is the
little bit.
pittiness that we were talking about
Just the
earlier.
pity. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels a little bit like that. And I understand because I heard Michael mention that like the thing is we can't take romance entirely out of like even children's cartoons because I mean, when kids are young, they look at their parents and look at the love that their parents have for each other. And like that is a part of life. Like that is a facet of life. And if we take that out of shows, it's really hard to make the argument, oh, like we don't need that in kids' shows when like, I mean, we kind of do to an extent, because there is a wholesome element of love and romance and marriage and like
Yeah.
family that creates the family values. So it is hard, in today's day and age to not have the LGBTQ elements with that. But yeah,
It says
that,
the introduction of that character followed a period of backlash from conservative groups over the removal of a transgender storyline, like you were talking about. So it is kind of pity again that
Mhm.
after that, just like the other side too. This is both sides, I guess, to do that. But like you're mentioning, like romance and stuff. I think it's a good thing if it's done the right way.
yes.
It can also be taken in the wrong direction, but also with the transgender stuff, I think we can't normalize like kids being transgender. That's I feel like as a parent I would not want that because that's changing their life forever. First of all, you're making the decision, they can't even make it for themselves, but also if you see that as a young kid you might think, wait, if they're switching, maybe I need to switch, and then it just makes it not natural.
Right.
Yeah. And as Christians, like we understand from our moral compass that God created us a certain way. God created man and woman to be together, and God created us as we are. But for a lot of society, they don't agree with that and they don't believe that. And they think, well, if we can have traditional romance like man and woman, why can't we have man and man?
Yeah.
Because they don't see it the way we do. And so it is kind of difficult to, I mean, to argue from a Christian perspective, absolutely, I could do that. I could explain why, man and woman should be the example for shows and for kids and stuff. But from the worldly perspective, I mean, it is hard to defend that because it's like, well, if we're going to have romance, like, why can't we have this and this? And that's why being a Christian, like, it can be hard to defend those things with people who just don't understand it the way you do.
Yeah. I think the transgender stuff for kids, like I understand if you're an
Right.
adult, do what you want, but because it would be in like a kids show, that would
Mm.
make me feel uneasy about it because
Transgender.
it's like, no, that's something that adults can decide. That's not for kids to look at and make their brain maybe think that they're not right. The other side of it though, with what you said, as a Christian, it is hard to argue like when you see people talking about a same sex couple in a show. I would argue from a worldly perspective that you can't create life without one of each. So it's hard. The kid wouldn't even be watching it because there wouldn't be a kid because you can't create life without both. So
Mhm.
from a show, yeah, but I don't know if we're ever gonna get exactly what we want on that because there's people
Right.
that will, fight tooth and nail to keep some sort
Yeah.
of thing. But in Hollywood, like Netflix, you're required to have gay characters, which I think that's just ridiculous. Make the show how you want. Shouldn't require
Yeah.
anything.
No.
So are they requiring that like in general on their platform, or do you mean for like a lot of the shows rolling out?
Yeah, for the shows that come on, you have to have like to get the certain funding from them. You have to have a gay character. There's different like black, like there's different categories you have to have, which is kind of weird.
That's what.
Super weird.
And I liked what Mariah said earlier. Just like let things flow naturally, let them flow organically. Don't try to force an issue because
Yeah.
again, it is the minority trying to force this issue, and they're hearing the loudest people that may be more quote unquote diverse in these ways that are pushing for these types of things. And then yeah, again, when things like this release, most people are like, what am I watching? Kind of thing. Like what? Like clearly there is an agenda, and clearly there is money behind this too.
Yeah,
You can say that across
there
various
has
franchises.
to be.
Netflix, Disney, yeah, you name it. So
Yeah, but yeah, I agree. Like we live in America. You should be able to make what you want with certain things if it's not like harmful. But you shouldn't require like they shouldn't require you to have a gay character or like whatever.
No,
No.
I don't, and that's just proving that they're pushing something
Yes.
because they want to include it, and that is actually crazy to me. Like I can't even fathom why it has to be that way. I mean,
Yeah, and
that's
I
just
like free market, free everything in this country. Like do what you want, and then look, they'll flop just like Snow White. People won't want it. People know what they want, so make
yeah,
what
and
you
it always
want. But
you know it's forced. Like you always
yeah,
can tell.
it doesn't
You can
mean people are
always
gonna like it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, that's
Wow.
that's what we covered today. We went from the parks to the movies and the Hollywood in general. There's a lot of issues there, but I don't know. We might be heading the right direction. We'll see in the next few years where Disney goes and stuff. Hopefully in the right direction, literally. But yeah, thank you guys for coming on this one. That was a fun conversation. I'll be going to Disney after this. No, not today.
Yeah.
I
No.
wish. I wish.
I know.
I still love Disney. Look, Disney. I have my issues with certain things, but I still love Disney. So
Yeah.
I think
Same.
we gotta do a better job, not just boycotting everything if we disagree with something. Just like
Right.
this. Disney's still
Yeah.
great. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
class.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys for joining me, and click the subscribe button if you are new, and let us know what you think. Do you think Disney's woke? Do you think they're going woke? Do you think it's going in the right or wrong direction? And we'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Bye.